Welcome to the HRS and Timekeeping Workshop. I see that you all have your laptops open and ready, so that's great. I also have our PowerPoint slide posted on the board behind me, and I encourage you to follow along. This session is going to be highly interactive, and after I cover each topic, we're going to be giving you some time to practice in the system and give you feedback. We're here and available to answer your questions, and we will certainly be providing the responses and the correct answers to each activity shortly after. The objective of today's session is to demystify points of confusion, provide you as users the opportunity to be in the system completing actual transactions during the training, and gain confidence in bringing your knowledge to the rest of the business. What we'd like to see essentially is a larger grouping of super users out in the business that are feeling really confident of how to answer those questions when somebody runs into a point that they're not sure of what to do. We recognize that in the implementation of the new system, there were many changes that we as a business had to undergo. We also recognize that the training perhaps could have been executed a little differently, but we look forward to this opportunity of beefing up your training today and giving us a little bit more of a precise opportunity to be in the system now that it's been live for about 6 months. I'm going to start with time entry. Time entry is a piece that many of us complete bi-weekly, some of us weekly, and even some of our employees who are hourly complete their time cards daily. The information that is inputted into time cards is extremely important as it's directly related to pay. There are a few do's and don'ts that you can see up on the board here that will be covered, and we encourage you to ask questions once we've covered the initial content. It's important that all time that's coded in Kronos, our timekeeping system, has a cost center attached to us. Miscoding items in Kronos can result in information deficits in our GL string. It's extremely important, and my number one do, that you attach coding to every single item that is entered in Kronos. If you do not use distribution timekeeping, or you're not charging to projects and tasks, this is a little bit less of a key item for you, but it's important to know the information just so that you can be available in case others have questions for you. Next, we're going to cover frequently asked coding questions. In our new system, we have a long string with 5 or 6 different groupings of numbers, and not everybody has clarity of what those numbers mean and the impacts in case they're coded wrong. What we have is a natural account, a cost center, an activity, a few other fields, and all of those make up our default expense account. The default expense account is essentially a finance-driven tool that allows us to cost base labor or any uncosted labor in Kronos to an employee's default operational and management cost center. It's extremely important that the department number that the employee falls under, as well as their cost center in the default expense account string, match. In the past 6 months, we've identified many mismatches, and we're working to correct those items as we speak. The next topic that we're going to cover and give you an opportunity, of course, to practice in the system is absence entry and timekeeping for absence recording. This is extremely important. In 2019 alone, we've had over 300 overpayments to employees as a direct result of time being entered for stat holidays incorrectly. We can see how important it is to get these items right. Overpayments and underpayments result in a lot of extremely administrative tasks for HR in terms of returning that money to the company and ensuring that employees have been compensated correctly. We're going to go over all the different types of absence entry, so that would include sick time, personal days, vacation time, flex time, WCB related absences, and short-term disability. After we get a chance to enter each of these different absences accurately in the system, we'll ask that you show us your responses and ask any questions that you may have so that we can address them and ensure that there's no more confusion about these topics. The next topic we're going to cover is module integration. Previously, in our old systems, all modules were siloed and did not share any data. Our new system comes with master data, and that master data is shared across our 3 core modules. That would be HR, supply chain, and finance. It's extremely important with the setup of our new system that the data that is in the system is correct. If it's not correct in one place, it's not correct anywhere. And it's extremely important that we see accuracy as we're entering items. As a regulated utility provider, it is our responsibility to report accurately on our expenditures, and without accurate data, it becomes very difficult to do so. The next item that we're going to be covering in our agenda is pay element categorization. We have put together a new and improved system in terms of being able to identify these 3 categories. So what we would see as options for pay element categorization would be elements that are a pay value category, elements that are an hours category, and finally, elements that are an amount category. The way that we enter information related to those elements will change depending on the category. What will help you to do is identify which items fall where and how we will enter pay element information related to the specific category that the element falls under. We'll have a little pop quiz at that part, but don't worry, you will be in pairs so you can combine your brain power and put it together. And I have great confidence that you will come out successful in that quiz. Next, we're going to cover costing pay allowances. Costing pay allowances is a little bit of a tricky item because we have so many business ventures out in rural areas with perhaps different allowances, different living allowances, different perks and items like this. It's very important that we're costing correctly our pay allowances to the correct default expense account. It's extremely important that we are able to report on who is receiving these allowances, where it's being costed for our overall financial picture at the end of the day. The next item that we're going to be speaking about is the element override process. As pay processors, we are able to enter an override into an element to change the way the pay processes for that single entry. It's important that we understand the impacts of that entry, or override entry, I should say, now in the current pay period, next pay period, and onwards. So we're going to dive into that a little bit so that we truly understand the impacts of those items. We certainly want you to ask questions throughout the presentation. We're here to help, and as I mentioned before, we certainly want this to be an interactive session where folks are able to feel like they really have their questions answered and that you are able to bring to light the items that you struggle with specifically or people around you may struggle with. We certainly want to make sure that we're putting the right tools in our people's hands to finish this training and feel empowered to move out into the business with the knowledge that they have, and know that we are always a great resource to touch base with in case you have further questions. To wrap up, I just want to thank you so much for attending our session. You'll be provided a survey by email, a participation survey, just so we can get a little bit of feedback on our presentation. You'll also be asked to complete a quiz about 2 weeks from now, and that will help us to gauge whether the information that we were trying to help you learn was actually completed successfully. So we ask that you promptly complete those quiz links once you receive them. It's very important to us that we understand whether the training that we completed was effective for our future training ventures. Thank you so much again, and we hope you have a great rest of your day and a safe weekend. Bye-bye.